Because they cheated, that's why. They sent top lawyers down from New York to fight it. And I think it goes before a judge tomorrow sometime. They don't want them to see the ballot. They've taken the ballots. They have them now. After years, they got an order from the court, signed order from a very respected judge, and now they're trying to stop anybody from looking. You know why? Because they cheated like dogs. And she wanted to bring them in. It's a big, very big company, all based outside of this country. And she wanted to bring them in, so I said, come on. So I said, hello, how are you doing? How's it going? Sir, I'm building 11 plants in the United States. I said, that's a lot. How many do you have? None. But we're moving almost all our business into the United States. And I said, why are you doing that? Tariffs. Tariffs! Can you believe it? He said, tariffs. And I got to be before a court. Can you believe it? This is like men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody. I have a new one to add, voter ID. The Democrats don't want to give us voter ID because they want to cheat. The only way they can cheat is if they, look, we can stop them so easy. You know what they say? We don't want voter ID because it's racist. Okay? That's a good one. It's racist, no. I'll tell you what, when they look at the polls, 95% of the people want voter ID. Then you have proof of citizenship. So we want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. For you to vote, let's prove that you're an American. So please, proof of citizenship. They're fighting that. They're fighting that. And then we don't want to have mail-in ballots where they're mailed in from all parts of the place. Mail-in ballots are crooked as hell. We're the only country in the world that use this type of mail-in ballot, the only country in the world. I'll tell you what, Republicans have to win this one. We'll never lose a race. For 50 years, we won't lose a race. We want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. And we don't want mail-in ballots except for the military far away, except for people that are ill, disabled, or people that are away. Even for a vacation, we'll be generous, okay? Other than that, we don't want mail-in ballots because mail-in ballots, they cheat. Without tariffs, what would you do? You know what? Everybody would be bankrupt, everybody. The whole country would be bankrupt. And I have to wait for this decision. I've been waiting forever, forever. And the language is clear that I have the right to do it as president. I have the right to put tariffs on for national security purposes, countries that have been ripping us off for years. You know what they were doing? Using tariffs. What a country. So sad. And now the Democrats have hired a massive team of lawyers. They have the ballots. That should be no problem, right? They have the ballots. FBI came in and raided. They found plenty of stuff. And now they have the ballots. And the Democrats are fighting like hell, and I think it goes before a judge tomorrow, to not let anybody see the ballots. Why don't they want them to see the ballots after all these years? You know why they don't want? Because they cheated, that's why. They sent top lawyers down from New York to fight it. And I think it goes before a judge tomorrow sometime. They don't want them to see the ballot. They've taken the ballots. They have them now. After years, they got an order from the court, signed order from a very respected judge, and now they're trying to stop anybody from looking. You know why? Because they cheated like dogs. They want voter ID. The population, 98%, want voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat in elections. They also want other things. They don't want mail-in ballots. They want to end mail-in ballots, which is corrupt. And one other thing that they're insisting on is proof of citizenship. And the Democrats don't want to give proof of citizenship. They don't want to give voter ID. Think of it. Who wouldn't want proof of citizenship? I ask you, Steve. Who wouldn't want voter ID? And why would you want mail-in ballots if you know it's corrupt? It's a corrupt system. You know, if you had voter ID, if you had proof of citizenship, they could never win an election. And they know that, and they're fighting to the hill.
What are you expecting from these Iran talks in Geneva tomorrow?
So I'll be involved in those talks indirectly.
and they'll be very important. We'll see. We could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. They want to make a deal.
Have you been told that a deal is next to impossible?
No, I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
Are you going to sit down with Democrats this week on DHS funding, sir?
I will, but we have to protect our law enforcement. They've done a great job. I just got finished saying that we have the best crime numbers we've had in many years, and on murders, 125 years, and that's despite a lot of people that shouldn't have been let into our country coming into our country, criminals, many criminals, but we've taken out tens of thousands of people, brought them back to their countries. Many of the criminals that were brought in, allowed to come in, have been removed. So, we're okay. But to have the best crime numbers, which aren't made by me, these are made by people that do that, many left-leaning. We have the best murder numbers. Horrible thing to say, but we have the best murder numbers since 1900. That's before my father was born. 125 years, think of it. The best crime numbers since 1900 having to do with murder, and really good crime numbers, the best in years. The Democrats shut down. They're upset that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that there's a movement for getting voter ID. They want voter ID. The population, 98%, want voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat in elections. They also want other things. They don't want mail-in ballots. They want to end mail-in ballots, which is corrupt. And one other thing that they're insisting on is proof of citizenship. And the Democrats don't want to give proof of citizenship. They don't want to give voter ID. Think of it. Who wouldn't want proof of citizenship? I ask you, Steve. Who wouldn't want voter ID? And why would you want mail-in ballots if you know it's corrupt? It's a corrupt system. We're the only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots. Think of it. The only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots, because they cheat. And the fact is they could never get elected if they ever changed. They know it. If you had voter ID, if you had proof of citizenship, they could never win an election. And they know that, and they're fighting to the hill. And I put this down with men playing in women's sports. I put it down with transgender for everybody. I put it down with their horrible open border policy as being ridiculous. They don't want voter ID, no voter ID. And I put that down in the same category with men playing in women's sports. I'm going to add a fourth category. They don't want voter ID. Go ahead. It's got voter ID, photo ID, but voter ID with a photo, right? It's got the confirmation of U.S. citizenship. You have to be a citizen. So you have a vote, you have an ID. That's about a 99% one. And I think 90% with Democrats. Then you have confirmation U.S. citizenship. That's about a 99% one with Republicans, about 86% with Democrats, except Democrat politicians because they cheat on elections. And then you have no mail-in ballots. And it would be no mail-in ballots, very important. We're the only country in the world that does a system like we do. We're the only country in the world that has mail-in ballots. The way we do this is unbelievable. It guarantees cheating.
Mr. President, voter ID polls very well nationally. Even the majority of Democrat voters want it.
Right.
So why do you think Senate Democrats are resisting the SAVE Act? And what is your strategy and realistic pathway to getting the SAVE Act passed to ensure free and fair elections for the next generation?
It's such a great question. I appreciate it, actually, because it's called the Save America Act. We've changed the name. It's the Save America Act, and the Democrats are against it. I heard one of them say, we will stop the Save America Act. No, we're trying to save America. And it has to do with largely voting. And basically, it's got three very simple points. It's got voter ID, photo ID, but voter ID with a photo, right? It's got the confirmation of U.S. citizenship. You have to be a citizen. So you have a vote, you have an ID. That's about a 99% one. And I think 90% with Democrats. Then you have confirmation U.S. citizenship. That's about a 99% one with Republicans, about 86% with Democrats, except Democrat politicians because they cheat on elections. And then you have no mail-in ballots. And there would be no mail-in ballots, very important. You know, we're the only country in the world that does a system like we do. We're the only country in the world that has mail-in ballots. The way we do this is unbelievable. It guarantees cheating. So it's no mail-in ballots with the exception of disability, illness, military, or if you're traveling, you can get an exemption. You know, if you happen to be out of the country for a good reason, you can have an exemption. So with exceptions, it's no mail-in ballots, and that will assure the security of our crooked elections. We have crooked elections, yeah.
Mr. President, have you fired or disciplined that staffer who posted the video from your account that included the Obamas?
No, I haven't. That was a video on, as you know, voter fraud, and fairly long video, and they had a little piece and had to do with the Lion King. It's been very well, it's been shown all over the place long before that was posted. But that was a very strong, and I'm sure you saw it, a very strong piece on voter fraud, and the piece that you're talking about was all over the place many times, I believe for years.
This announcement that you made today, Mr. President, comes on the heels of a January jobs report that smashed industry expectations.
Smashed all records.
In the big feature of that was you reprivatizing the economy, an economy that was bloated with federal employment under the previous president. What's your message to Americans following this jobs report that smashed industry expectations? Is this just a sign that the best is yet to come?
The jobs report's amazing in certain ways because we have tremendously fewer federal employees, way down. And now I could have left them and added to what we did, and we would have had almost 100% employment. I could have gotten a great kick out of the fact that we're 100% employed. But we got rid of tremendous numbers of federal workers, and they hated me for it. Now they love me because most of them have gotten jobs in the private sector for 2 and 3 times more money than they were being paid by the federal government. We had some jobs where you had 10 workers for one job. 10 workers for a job that one person should be doing. And we've gotten rid of a lot of those jobs. And by getting rid of them, these people became available to work in the private sector. And as you know, the numbers are incredible. So the job numbers are incredible. The financial numbers are beyond belief. Again, they thought it couldn't be done in 4 years, and I did it in 1 year. And the numbers you're going to see is these, I don't know if you notice also construction numbers, the jobs for construction workers. You know why? Because they're building plants all over the United States, that's why. And when these plants open in a year from now, some sooner, some a little bit later, but when these auto plants, AI plants, and thousands of other types of plants, when they open over the next period of a year, year and a half, you're going to see numbers like we've never seen before in this country. It wasn't easy, you know. They rigged the second election. I had to win it. Had to win it. I needed it for my own ego. I would have had a bad ego for the rest of my life. Now I really have a big ego, though. Beating these lunatics was incredible, right? What a great feeling. She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in, at Pam's insistence, she went in and she looked at votes that want to be checked out from Georgia. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, that it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries to it. But she's done a great job, and Pam has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it both. I haven't seen you in a couple of days. And I have one of the greatest negotiators. It wasn't easy, you know. They rigged the second election. I had to win it. Had to win it. I needed it for my own ego. I would have had a bad ego for the rest of my life. Now I really have a big ego, though. Beating these lunatics was incredible, right? What a great feeling. Winning every swing state, winning the popular vote. The first time, you know, they said I didn't win the popular vote. I did. But they said. So they'd always say, would always thought they'd introduce me. While Donald Trump did not win the popular vote, you know, I'm sitting up being introduced by a Democrat or somebody. And they say, why Donald Trump did not win the popular vote. He won the presidency. Here he is. I said, that was terrible. I said, and we won the popular vote by a lot. We didn't want to play any games. This has been a much different. We had a great first term.
We had the greatest economy in history, but this one's going to blow it away already. It's blowing everything away. We have $18 trillion coming into our country, blowing everything away. But we had a great first term. We rebuilt the military. You know, Biden gave a little chunk of it to Afghanistan brilliantly. He left tanks and planes and, you know, little things. I said, why didn't you fly the planes out? He said, well, nobody thought of it. You could have flown. He said, it's very hard to remove the equipment. Really? You couldn't fly an airplane? Buy $150 million brand new airplane. Sir, I think it's better to leave it. Why? It's more cost effective. So we leave them a brand new jet. I said, these people are crazy. But we have it under control now like you've never seen, and our military has never been stronger. And you saw that with the B-2 bombers in Iran, and you saw it recently with Venezuela, where we're getting along fantastically with leadership, but really become a great relationship. I don't think there's been anything quite like it ever. In fact, we have 50 million barrels of oil floating right now over to Houston. She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in at Pam's insistence. She went in and she looked at votes that want to be checked out from Georgia. They say, why is she doing it? Right, Pam? Why is she doing it? Because Pam wanted her to do it. And you know why? Because she's smart. And they said, well, this has to do, her position has to do, it's really not so, but her position has to do with international. I say, well, the same people that said that, they've been saying Russia has been screwing our elections, okay? So let's assume Russia had something to do with it. They say, no, Russia didn't have. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, that it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries to it. But she's done a great job, and Pam has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it both. I haven't seen you in a couple of days. And I have one of the greatest negotiators. After a rigged election, we had a rigged election. They say that, even the radical left is saying we did a lot of things. 12 months ago, Joe Biden handed us a mess. After a rigged election, we had a rigged election. I said, do we do it again? And I said, I think we better do it again. Not too many people who would have said that. But we did so well the second time, I said, well, we won twice, we got to do it a third time. Should we do it a fourth time? Four victories. 4 victories. We got the right team over there. The right team over there. Well, that would be easy for you. That wouldn't even be work. But you came out by the thousands on a cold and snowy winter evening. Remember that beautiful evening? And together we won the Iowa caucuses in a 30-point landslide. That was great. I'll never forget it. It was so freezing. You think it's cold now? That blew it away. Whatever happened to global warming? You know? Now it's, it's like one of those things. But it was the coldest night. I remember it was way below zero. And they say, sir, you don't have to come till 10 or 11 o'clock because the caucus takes longer. Then I got a call at, let's say the polls close at 7. Sir, you've won. I said, I won what? They told me 10 o'clock. They can't announce. They said, you won by so much. They just called it at 1 minute after 7. So, right? So we made the journey. And we made that journey through all the cars and everything else, and we made a speech, but what an evening that was. Then in November, we won the state by a massive landslide. That was incredible in the election. And we then went on to win all swing states, all 7 of them. They said 7 swing. Well, he could win 4 of them. He's doing very well, but we won 7. We won the Electoral College 312 to 226. We won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in many decades by millions and millions of votes. And we won a category that's very important. We won 86% of all counties in America. Other than that, we didn't do too well. So now we're back where it all started to celebrate the greatest first year of any administration in American history. They say that. Even the radical left is saying We did a lot of things. 12 months ago, Joe Biden handed us a mess. We inherited the legacy of record high inflation, the highest inflation in the history of our country. They say the fake news, ooh, that's a lot of fake news. No, the fake news said it's 48 years. I remember recently I said the highest inflation, the worst, I believe this, by the way, worst in the history of our country. They said it wasn't the worst. It was 48 years. I said, that's okay, too. Somehow that sounds even worse than when you say the history, right? 48 years. I accepted that, but I think it was in the history.
Crime is down all over the country. We just had a crime report coming out from, I think, one of the networks, which they hate to hear this, but crime is the lowest number ever recorded. Yeah. So, what it says. We talk about Minnesota, but in Minnesota, you probably read, their crime is way down. You know why? Because we took out thousands of criminals out of Minnesota, and that's why it's good. By the way, this is ABC fake. There's this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead. What'd you say? I'd say ABC's about as bad as they get. You all doing all right? You going over to the speech? You going over to the speech? Good. We're going to have a good time. Nice group of people. We'll do whatever's appropriate. You know, we secured the border. Remember that. We secured the border. We did things that nobody thought was possible. We had 25 million people come through the border. When I took over, it was a mess. You take a look at what we did in terms of pricing. So you had gasoline at $4.50. Now it's at $1.99 in many places, a gallon, $1.99. He's a very honorable man. He doesn't make up stories. $1.89. When I took over, you were $4.50, $3.50, $5 all over the place. Now we have prices coming way, way down. But remember, we secured the border. Crime is down all over the country. We just had a crime report coming out from, I think, one of the networks, which they hate to hear this, but crime is the lowest number ever recorded. Yeah. So, what it says. We talk about Minnesota, but in Minnesota, you probably read, their crime is way down. You know why? Because we took out thousands of criminals out of Minnesota, and that's why it's good. So anyway, but we have Tom Homan is over there. We all love Tom.
Yeah.
And he met with the governor, met with the mayor. He's going to meet with the mayor, I guess, and it's going very well. But remember this, even Minnesota, their crime is down. And you know why it's down? Because of what we did. We took out thousands of criminals, career criminals, bad criminals, people that came in from Venezuela. By the way, how did we do in Venezuela? Not bad, right? But people that came in from countries all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from all over South America, all over Latin America, all over Africa. They came from everywhere. And they came out of prisons in many cases. They came out of mental institutions in many cases. And we're getting them out, and we got a lot of them out, but we have now the safest country we've ever had. Washington, D.C. went from being a crime-ridden place to a place that has virtually no crime in a period of a couple of months.
Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom Homan?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here, these are a lot of owners of farms and places, and you shake up your team. If they can't do the crops fast enough, look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border. And in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border, right? Nobody. They say nobody. I don't even know if that's possible. But you know, it's Democrats that do the report. It's a very liberal group that does that report. It's a very important report. And for 9 months, I guess 8 months, 9 months, we have nobody coming into our country unless they come in legally. We want them to come in legally. You need people to work for you. But we did something that I would say people thought that was absolutely impossible, and we were able to do it. So we're very honored by what's happened to our country. For some reason, when a president wins, Republican or Democrat, even if they're a good president, and hopefully I'm a great president, based on the first year, I'm a great president. And we had a great first term, too. People don't know, we rebuilt our military. We had phenomenal financial numbers. But I think this term's blowing away really every term. But traditionally, when a president gets elected, out of, I think, 50 years, They've had two. One, I don't understand it.
You're gonna be the
They've
next.
had two, so we have to. And one was by unusual circumstance. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
About Minnesota, Mr. President, some of your own administration officials have labeled Alice.
By the way, this is ABC fake. There's this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead. What'd you say? I'd say ABC's about as bad as they get.